What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode. If it looks like I'm coming to you live from San Francisco, I'm not. And I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm trying something different. This is kind of cool. The court's like in the background. So, playing around with technology, trying to learn something new. So, this is pretty dope. But I'm here to talk about All Star Weekend, give you guys my thoughts on what I thought was good and what I thought was not so good. And all right, well, we'll start with the festivities. Obviously, everyone prior to the main attraction, which should be the All Star game, it's the dunk contest and the 3-point shootout and the skills challenge. Now, full disclosure, I was busy, so I didn't really watch every single minute of this. And that in itself should tell you where the interest level is from a lifelong basketball fan like myself. I grew up a basketball fan since I can remember. And I remember All Star Weekend being super awesome, not just because obviously the dunk contest and the 3-point shootout you knew was going to be a show, but someone that grew up a Raptors fan, that's why you wanted your guys to get into the All Star game. You wanted to see them play in that game, have their moment, and kind of put that team on the map. When you grew up as a Raptors fan in the early 2000s, there wasn't much success. So for me in particular, I remember voting and wanting Vince Carter to get in just so I could see him on the national stage and kind of see him put on. Obviously, the team at that time wasn't really making the playoffs. So for me, it was a matter of, man, if he can make it into the All-Star game and then maybe put on some highlights, the Raptors will get a little bit of love. And, now, especially since we're moving in sort of more of a player-based fan base, where I feel like most of the younger fans are more interested in the players than they are the teams, or they'll kind of bounce around and root for specific players more so than their teams. I don't blame Mavs fans right now for what they're going through, and probably a lot of them moving on with Luka. That was crazy in itself. But with All-Star Weekend, the dunk contest, it's kind of lost some of its flair because the main guys, the names you want to see out there aren't really doing it. And, I hate to put most of the blame on LeBron, but it starts at the top with the guy who has been the best player in the league for the past pretty much 20 years at this point, never doing the dunk contest, never showing an interest in doing it, and never really, pleasing the fans with that. And I get it. We started moving towards a quicker instant reaction type of society where everything's online and there's videos and people, the memes and whatnot. And maybe these guys are more self-conscious and not be embarrassed. But at the same time, who cares? Like, you're LeBron James. If you lose the dunk contest, it's a dunk contest. And if people are going to kind of put that on your name as a negative because you lost a dunk contest, then they don't really watch basketball. They don't really understand your greatness as a basketball player. And the people that do matter are going to understand like what you brought and have brought to the game in all your time. You'll still be a first ballot Hall of Famer, like all those important things. You'll still be all NBA. That doesn't matter when you think of the slam dunk contest or a 3-point shootout and having a bad turnout. I mean, it's just things like that I wish these guys wouldn't be so, I guess, embarrassed of or self-conscious about. But it is the time that we live in. So, the dunk contest, it kind of, you got Mac McClung who put on a show again. He jumped over a car and all that, but it's a different feel when it's him doing that. And honestly, his dunk was more impressive, in my opinion, than what Blake Griffin did jumping over a car. But when it's Blake Griffin, it's Blake Griffin. That's why people are watching it, because Blake Griffin is not, I don't want to, critique Mac McClung, but Blake Griffin is Blake Griffin because he was a great basketball player. He was a top player in the NBA. And on top of that, he could win a dunk contest. Whereas a lot of people, the casual fan, doesn't know Mac McClung. He's not really a rotational NBA player. So you might just think to yourself, like, yeah, this guy works on the dunks. That's what he's working on. And Stephon Castle, I saw some of his dunks. He did have some good dunks too. And people that argue that he should have won because he's an NBA player, like, I get that argument, but at the same time, like, this is the dunk contest. So you got to judge it based on the dunks that you're seeing in front of you, whether that's from Mac McClung, a G Leaguer on a 2-way deal, or Stephon Castle, having a great rookie year. But at the same time, wouldn't it be just incredible if it was Ja Morant, dunking against Anthony Edwards, and you had those kind of guys in the dunk contest. Like, also, what shame would there be in losing? Like, who cares? Like, you guys are putting on a show, having fun, but it's a really, really tough dilemma that the NBA has been positioned in. It's easy to point the finger at Adam Silver or the league or whatever, but it's kind of just been just everything, kind of just the way society has moved. The amount of money that's, people that want to criticize Adam Silver, like, one of the reasons why the All-Star weekend isn't as good is credit to Adam Silver, because there's so much money now with the NBA that guys don't, if before they didn't want to get hurt, now they especially don't want to get hurt in an All-Star game because so much money is up in the air, because, they could be potentially, if they get injured in a meaningless exhibition game, lose millions upon millions of dollars. So it's hard to blame the players. It's really kind of hard to blame the commissioner. It's just something that obviously, smarter people than me can come together and find a way to motivate the players. And I did see like something out there about maybe doing a one-on-one tournament with $1 million prize. The one thing I will say is, like I said, as a lifelong fan, you got to think to yourself, the cash prize isn't as enticing for a regular fan working a 9 to 5 when you are pretty much, blasting on TV like, hey, watch these rich guys try to battle it out to get even richer. The reason those kind of cash prize TV shows work are because the people winning those cash prizes, usually that money makes the world of a difference for them. It's the kid that did the 3-point shootout against Dame Lillard and won $100,000. That reaction is genuine, because that $100,000 for this kid will make a difference. Like, if it's Dame winning $100K, his reaction ain't really much. That's like, your average person winning $10. They'll be happy, but it ain't much probably to Dame. So again, like, and that's not something that I think should even really be at All-Star weekend. I don't know. I commend the NBA for trying different things, but at the end of the day, it's just the way things go. I think as businesses grow, people get greedy. It's human nature. People want more money. People want, more and more and more, and it kind of loses its flair. So I think the All-Star weekend sadly has lost its flair. The 3-point shootout, it was actually nice to see Tyler Hero win, and hearing him speak, it looks like he really like was glad to have won, and that is something that I do think hasn't lost that much of a flair at all, because I think these guys do try. These guys aren't really going to get injured in the 3-point shootout, and it means something to them. But the reason that even has lost, its flair is just because the whole weekend has kind of lost it a little bit. And I think one of the things with the NBA is, who is the target audience? Now, the NBA looks like they're moving into more of a social media target audience. They got content creators and all that kind of stuff. But that I don't want to say the majority of the fan. I don't really know those analytics, but your average fan who's watching at home that loves the game of basketball, like myself. One of the highlights was when Kyrie had the ball. He was going up against Victor Wembanyama, and he went at him. And that's the type of stuff that you want to see in the All-Star week. Like, we're not trying to ask these guys to dive for loose balls or do that, but we want to see basketball. We want to see basketball plays. I remember watching Shaq bring the ball up like he was a point guard, and it's funny / entertaining. It's kind of his chance to goof off a little bit, but show off some basketball skills. I want to see that. I want to see, Victor Wembanyama bring the ball up, a 7-foot+ guy dribble up the court with the basketball and try to take on a guard, or try to, cross him over, or things like that. Like, this is the time to try stuff like that. I remember in my, younger years watching this, and T-Mac threw the alley-oop to Vince Carter off the backboard and stuff. I mean, some of these guys are doing this stuff in game, but the All-Star game was where you got the chance to kind of do that, where it was an exhibition game, but it was still basketball. It was still, if you got a breakaway dunk, all right, now you can try to do the between the legs thing. We can maybe see Anthony Edwards do that, or LeBron, or that would be awesome to see. But, now, I mean, every single, pretty much in the past couple of years, every single play was a breakaway dunk because the guys didn't want to play any defense. So at least the one thing I will say on the good side of, the recap of the weekend is that I did think that these guys did try a little harder with the new format. It was kind of they split it up into 4 teams, and the guys did try a little bit harder, I think, especially, and thank God for Victor Wembanyama. I think this guy's competitive, and I think he wanted to win. I think, even him and Chris Paul got disqualified from the skills challenge for kind of just throwing the ball at the hoop without actually trying to shoot it in. But that, I think, came from a place of competitiveness. I think they wanted to win it, so they were like, let's just do this and try to win. So, shout out Victor. I think Wembanyama is awesome, and I think he's going to be, hopefully, if he becomes the face of the league, a great face of the league, because he actually seems to care about the stuff and the history behind it. But it's tough. It's tough, and it's not about pointing the finger. It's about trying to find a solution to this. But I do think, I will say, the one thing where I've seen a lot of people think of a solution is, how can we incentivize these guys to play a little harder? And the answer seems to always come down to money. And I don't think that is the answer. I don't think that people that are struggling to provide and get groceries and stuff really want to see some guys that are already making hundreds of millions of dollars, especially these guys, because they're all-stars. So they're at the top of the food chain in the NBA. These guys compete for more money. And that part of it, I don't think it should be the solution. Maybe you incentivize the teams, maybe do East-West again and do some kind of home court in the finals or something like that. But or even maybe with the schedule, I have no idea. I mean, maybe you can kind of give the winning team in the East a couple more days off or something, and they get to play their series. Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but there's got to be something other than here's some more money. I don't think that'll be the answer. But overall, the good was that I did think the guys tried harder. And I did think that there was a sense of competitiveness and moments. There were moments, like I said, that Kyrie moment will stick out with me just because it really reminded me of, a big going against a small. Victor was guarding him and he took on that challenge. He's like, all right, I got this big guy. I don't really I wouldn't typically get this matchup in a regular season game. So I'm going to try to, cross him over. And we want to see that. We want to see, like, even if it's Victor falling on his ass because Kyrie crossed him up, like, so what? And that's the thing I love about Victor. I think he doesn't care. I think he's like, yeah, I'm trying. That's why he goes up and tries to block every shot. And there's not many left in the league like that. And so I respect that a ton. So that was the good. The bad, obviously, there was a lot of it because it's just tough to try to get a fix on this. And I think also the NBA really tried to bring in a lot of other stuff. They had Mr. Beast doing his promo thing. Kevin Hart kind of, emceed the whole thing. And there were a lot of breaks. Sometimes I remember tuning in and then tuning back in and being like, did it end already? Did it not end already? Did I miss it? And it was just a kind of still the same timeout that had gone on for like 15 minutes because Kevin Hart was doing some stuff. So look, they're trying, but ultimately I'll leave off with this because I saw Draymond had his commentary about basically he was kind of ripping on it. At the end of the day, he was ripping on the fact that there were rising stars as part of the Sunday night games. And he's got a point, but ultimately this is the doing of the players themselves. That is Draymond because he has been an all-star, and that is the other guys that have been all-stars because they, it's hard to blame them again because a lot of money's on the line, but because the game kind of started being just a careless shoot around, that is why the NBA is searching for answers. And that is why the rising stars, kids, because they're young rookies and sophomores kind of coming into the league, trying to make a name for themselves. That is why they had to play on Sunday. And you know what? Because they played on Sunday, that is why the veteran NBA players probably tried a little harder because they didn't want to get embarrassed. And if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. And that's what's going to happen because, it's all about ultimately selling the product. And when it looks like there's no pride in it, and when it looks like these guys are more in it for, just to show up. I mean, just to even show up. LeBron showed up and didn't even put the uniform on. So, lots of things to fix with All-Star Weekend. in a weird way. Although I don't necessarily think it really worked, but I do commend the NBA for at least trying it and trying something different. And we got to keep trying. We'll get it. We'll get it there at some point. But yeah, now we get a couple of days off, and then the second half of the season comes up, and then the games really kind of start to matter, seeding and all that. And I'm looking forward to that. Maybe that could be something with seeding. Again, I don't know how to fix it. I'm not envious of the position that those people with those decisions are in. But that's my recap of All-Star Weekend. And I might try this background stuff some more. It's kind of cool. All right. Catch y'all later.